Hey, you guys, how's it going? Welcome to, I guess this will be an episode of Recast. I'm not really sure. But I got Gempanada and Glacy, the community managers for Private Division and Square Enix, respectively. Really thankful that you guys took the time to be here.
Thank you.
No worries. Thank you for having us.
For both of you, I know like community manager is like a nebulous term of like do everything that everybody else doesn't
Yeah,
want to do.
for
um,
sure. Yeah, it's we wear a lot of hats, and you don't have to be necessarily good at all of them, but just have some basic knowledge is a
mhm.
good start. Um, but yeah, there's just like so many things that um you don't realize when you start doing it, that is really necessary as a community manager.
Mhm. What's it like? What was the first time you realized that? Like, was it before you actually got the job, or did you get the job and then it was like, oh, hey, there's like 10 other things I have to do
After,
after? Oh, no.
I think it was a
definitely.
little bit after for me too. I mean, there was a lot of things that I was prepared for, but with my job, like since we're such a brand new company, I guess we still consider ourselves like a startup.
Mhm.
Um, there's so many things that are we're trying to make sure that we cover, and sometimes it's like, all right, who's responsible for this part of this
Mhm.
thing, and we don't know who should be taking on
Yeah.
it or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, I saw so you're assistant manager alongside being the community manager. Is that right?
For me,
Yeah, Jem, sorry.
yeah. So my title is I'm the assistant manager as the community manager and the customer service manager. So those are like two
Okay.
separate roles mashed up into one.
Mhm.
And my boss is aware of this. Like he thought that it would be like, because they are very similar, but there are just so many different like tasks that
Mhm.
each job needs to be done, and all of them do require a lot of work. So
Mhm.
um, I tell them every time we have our meetings, it's just like I have a lot of things to do, and I don't know. Like I try to get started on one project, and then I realize I need to start doing this other project because it's a
Mhm.
priority. So it just becomes um, knowing which one that is needed, depending on the day or whatever project that we're working on.
Gotcha. Yeah, well,
That
in
does sound crazy chaotic, though.
It is. But I kind of love it at the same time because my life
Mhm.
is just chaotic. But it works for me. It keeps me busy. But it I do need some help.
Yeah, well, community management's more of like, interacting with the community, whereas like customer service is customer satisfaction. So I feel like
Hmm.
it deals with the same population, but in vastly different different realms.
Right.
So I guess the first question, and I can throw it to you, Jem, first, is
Hmm.
what got you into community management?
Yeah, sure. So even with, like I'm consider myself as like an OG. So like I was one of the very first people to have like a Twitter account. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think my anniversary was like 13 years ago.
Oh.
Like I got that little notification from Twitter. It's like you meet your account this year, this day, and yeah. But I've always thought that social media was such an interesting way to communicate on the internet. And then I don't know, I just had this weird inkling that I knew this was going to be like the new way of the internet. And I wanted to make a career out of it, but I just didn't know how or what it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then much later down, like when I was in college, that's when I started to realize, like, I think I want to do community management. Like, I want to be someone who is in charge of like just communicating with the audience through a brand account, because I feel like that's such an interesting way to um, just market yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that also like later down the line made me realize like it's part of marketing. So then that's how I started to
Okay.
really start looking into marketing skills. But I didn't get a community manager job until like this one. So this is technically my very first one, and I've just been kind of doing things on the side for me.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you want me to call you Glacy or Kim? Which one's
Either one's fine. Kim works because maybe some people don't know
okay?
who Glacy is.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and kind of similar actually. I graduated as a game programmer, and I just landed a QA position. And the people who I was working with for a Korean MMO asked if I had any streaming experience, and I said I did, which was kind of a lie. I had been on a friend stream once, just talking.
No.
But when it's your first job out of college, you tend to fib a little. And then after that, eventually they started asking if I had knowledge with Facebook and Twitter, and I knew Facebook but not Twitter. Eventually, they just asked if I could make a few posts, and then after that, I became a game master. So that kind of led to more community management type roles.
Okay.
And yeah, I really liked being able to interact with people. I was better at it than I thought I would be. And then once we started making like Twitter posts, I loved doing that. I loved making like silly jokes based on memes that I found on the forums. I loved just posting stuff about the game, making blogs. And eventually that led to being noticed by Square Enix.
Oh, really? Oh, so what was the first company you started with?
It was a company called EST Soft, and the MMO I worked on was Cabal 2, very obscure. We did not have a massive player base, but it's something that I still hold dear to my heart because it did give me my step into gaming.
Yeah. And so did you reach out to Square, like they had like an open position, or they just like noticed?
No. They had an open position, but I was able to show them like all the videos I had done, the streams I had done, and I guess they liked that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So community management is very nebulous. Definitely has a bunch of different duties alongside just running social media. So give us an idea of like what are some other things that you do alongside, posting on different social media outlets.
That's a list, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have two management titles for sure. That sounds like madness.
You can go first.
Okay. I run social media accounts for 3 titles. So I am primarily a social media manager, but for 2.5 titles, I do write reports. I do interact a little bit less on one of the titles than I would like to, but we did launch another title that I'm focusing on right now. So it's really just delegating reports, seeing, okay, so this person sent in this report for this game, check it, make sure there's no additional feedback. I've become a little bit more into the supervisory role, but previously it was writing the reports, talking on Discord, talking on Reddit, making all the social media posts, creating the images. And yeah, now it's kind of expanded to overseeing marketing campaigns for some of the mobile titles that we do. Not overseeing, but just making sure that the text copy aligns with the actual in-game events, making sure the images work with everything that's in-game, that sort of thing.
Okay. And when you say reports, do you mean like analytics or like actual like bug reports, or what do you mean by that?
Okay, so for community reports, I focus on community feedback. So I'll input comments.
Oh, okay.
I'll try to like write it so that it's, instead of just the sentence that the player wrote, I'll say, what's the essence of this? Like, what is the major complaint? Put that in a nice Excel sheet. And yes, social media analytics is I love doing it. I'll have those numbers up. I'll show the engagement rate. I'll try to make sure that it stays pretty much the same. If I notice a dip, that could be correlating to something that's bad in game, and most of the time it is. You can actually track a lot of things through social media analytics that you wouldn't think possible.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, I do a little bit of everything.
So my undergraduate degree is in a Bachelor of Science in Psychology, and so I did a lot of like behavior analysis, and And so like translating all of that onto social media analysis has like been really smooth. And I was like, whoa, like there's so much
That's
you can
great.
do with just like these analytics that all these social media sites give you.
I mean,
Um,
that's true. That's awesome, though.
yeah, no, it's fascinating. Um, yeah, Jem, what's your long list of other
Yes.
duties?
So yeah, I'm like the assistant manager to community and also do customer service. So have a very long list of just like managing the social accounts, and then of course like communicating with them, planning out the social posts, coordinating with our marketing leads. So just kind of like see what they have on the marketing plan, see what kind of campaigns they're thinking of, and then trying to align all those major marketing beats. So like we make the announcements or any like major trailers that we have.
Mhm.
I am the person who's responsible to upload those trailers in our channels. And there are multiple video assets that we do. So I'll be uploading like, I don't know, like 10 at a time. And sometimes there'll be large files. So I'll be sitting in front of my computer for hours just waiting for it to finally like finish and rendering to the website.
Oh, yeah.
I guess. And then I guess on the customer service side, I also have like my own little team of agents that I communicate on a daily basis. They're the ones who are answering the tickets, but sometimes we'll get a ticket where like, oh, I need approval for, can we give this key, or they want to get a refund, or just something like out of the blue that we don't have an answer to yet. So I have to help and try to figure out, get the answer from my internal team. Again, it's since like we're all kind of like figure out who's responsible of who. It does take me a while to figure out like, all right, I should ask this person for this question, or I should ask this person for this particular question. So, but being in this job for 2 years, I think we finally got the hang of like, okay, I know who is the right person to ask. So that's a thing. But then I also have to start planning out writing. So there's a thing called macros. So you just write all these pre-written responses, which is like, most commonly answers. And then just making sure they're in order, the tagging is right. And so that way we can also start looking at the analytics of like how many have we used them. There's a lot of different things that thankfully, because I worked in previous customer service jobs, that I can finally apply it to this job. But community manager has always been something that I always wanted to do. So it's kind of interesting how I was able to mesh my experience and the experience that I want to get into one job. It's just a lot of work. I am still learning on the analytics side. I've only just recently started to really start putting together analytic reports, just because numbers scare me.
Yeah.
But I do gather a lot of the feedback and try to like understand the sentiment, because I'm very and being a community manager, you have to be very empathetic. So I always try to think of the best possible situation for each person. So yeah, that is my long list of, and there's so much more. That's just the surface of it.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Like as you were talking, I was like, oh yeah, oh okay, never mind. There's a lot. Yeah, that sounds crazy though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds overwhelming a little bit.
A little bit.
So, I had two questions that kind of popped up while I was listening to you guys. Being with like social media in such a fast-paced environment, is it hard to like get answers back quickly? Because I feel like there's that pressure of like, oh, like if someone has a complaint or someone has this, like I have to respond quickly to it. Or is there some kind of like chain of command that you guys go through? Does that make sense, or did I get that across quickly?
It depends on the team and the game and the question. If it's like a technical issue, I find that sometimes I get the quickest responses from the team to let the player know. If it's a sensitive question, I will ask, hey, this person is asking this. It's something we don't normally ask. Is this okay? I have this response here. that sort of thing is checked. But for the most time, eventually they'll start trusting your judgment, and you can just respond and know that it's
Okay.
going to be the best for the player and the company.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I can definitely agree what Kim said. It depends on the question and the title. So sometimes it's something that we already know, so I can easily answer it. Other times it'll be a question that, oh, this might be, if I answer it right now, it might be a concern for the public or PR. So luckily, like my boss is actually like our PR communications lead. So I just ask him directly, like, hey, do you think like we should answer this, or we should wait until we can get a more formalized answer, that sort of thing. But yeah, what Kim said, it's like sometimes they do start to really trust you and how to respond to certain things. So it's a good feeling knowing that you have good judgment on what are things that you should answer or what you shouldn't answer.
Gotcha. Okay. And the other question I had is, do you guys have like analytics bars or minimums that you have to hit? So like, do you have to have like this much engagement with this post, or like you have to have this many views? Is there any like pressure to perform in a community management position?
For me, it's not. It's just more of like just kind of like, hey, we just want to get this word out, that sort of thing for me. There is no minimum, because luckily my bosses are very understanding. Like, you know, I'm still very new into this industry, so I'm still trying to like get a feel for our community and the tone. It wasn't until like this week or last week that I really started to like catch my my rhythm into things, because I've started to see my posts starting to get like more than
saw that on Twitter.
10 likes, and I was like, oh my god, this is really awesome. And yeah, it's basically the first 2 years have been growing pains, and it's a lot of like trial and error. And I think it's only now I've started to really started to thrive. So I'm looking forward to see I guess like to see how far I can go with my posts. But yeah, for us, there's not like any kind of minimum. They just want to just make sure that we set out the message, and there's no responses, then that's fine too. But no, they don't have like a lot of expectations out of me.
Gotcha.
I would say for me, I have personal engagement levels that I want to cross for bigger accounts like the Union Cross Twitter, because that has a lot of followers. I don't look into the engagement rate as much because chances are not everyone's going to be responding. But smaller titles like Dissidia, not smaller titles, but smaller following on their Twitter page, I do look for higher engagement posts because I know those will reach more of the general audience. And yeah, I look for that percentage. If it's above 1%, I'm happy camper. I've had posts gone up to like 13% engagement rate, and that makes me happy. So yeah, it's really just figuring out what your core audience likes for social media, and sticking to that formula, but also adapting so nothing becomes stale. So once you start seeing like how often your audience responds to something, you see that the minimum thresholds and then maximum for like social media events. So I have a good sense of what like most people will respond to, and if I see it dip below that, I start to see, okay, what did I do wrong? What is it? Something of the event? Is it the game? Is it the image? And if it goes above that, I try to start making that my new minimum and working from there. It's hard though. It does not always work out the way you think it would.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I feel like
your level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's really. I mean, I started doing this 5 years ago. Yeah, close to 6. So, it's just. But once you start getting into the rhythm of it, it becomes addicting. Especially once you start getting into the numbers. Oh yeah, the game changes.
Yeah, because once you get that, like, once you hit that new threshold of like, oh, I've gotten this much engagement. Now, if anything drops below that, you're like, oh no, like I have to do better. I have to meet that again. And I think I'm fascinated by like brand Twitter because I don't know, it's weird because there's like a push to personalize brand Twitters, but there's also like a lot of pushback against that. And so do you guys have trouble like Well, do you guys like personalize your brand Twitter, and like do you see any pushback from that?
Um,
You want to go?
sorry. I don't handle official, like I don't handle the official Square Enix accounts or anything.
Mm-hmm.
Since it is game titles, I try to personalize it to the game. Um, Kingdom Hearts one was super easy because the Kingdom Hearts community has such a strong voice. It's like, all right, so make it about. That was not a bad thing. I love the passion for the community.
Mm.
For the Kingdom Hearts team, it actually kicked my butt into gear for the other titles that I worked on, because it's like you cannot just put them on the side and go like, oh, they'll do their own thing. Like they will want answers, and it really helped form the community manager that I wanted to be.
Yeah,
but yeah, so
can. Oh,
I
sorry.
not at all. Sorry. I tried to make a voice for the Unicross Center to be like, all right, so this is a game where you're a Keyblade wielder. Focus on that. Focus on their accomplishments. But for the other titles, it really depends on the community. For me, so I found it really easy to run the Kingdom Hearts and Dissidia page. The Romantic Saga, I still need to find a voice for that.
Yeah, for me, it's just oh wait, I forgot what the question was. I just wanted to
I was just interested in like if you've tried to personalize your brand, if you've had pushback against that.
Okay. Yeah, so for me so I run, so we're a publisher. We're not like the game title of it. So I think my goal, and this was like my goal when I first started working at Private Division, a lot of gaming publishers, they get a bad rep. Like some, I don't know if I can name them in here, but like the really big like AAA type of publishers, they get like a lot of like negativity just because of like monetization and all that stuff. And since we're kind of like an independent publisher, sort of, even though we're under Take-Two, we do publish I guess the AA mid-tier games. We have like we have high quality games, but we're very small, niche down. So I try to like really amplify those games, because since they're just so unique, it's we want to make sure that it does get all the credit that it deserves. So that's why I try to like brand it as if like the typical player that really enjoys those type of games. I don't have a lot of issues just making it personalized. That's always been my goal. But I think what I am struggling, since we are under like the Take-Two umbrella, we do have a legal team. So there can be some things like for example, like I really would love to do a lot more mashup kind of like content, but there's a big concern of like, you know, with IP collaboration, and so that's where I kind of struggle a little bit, because I really would love to see that and just kind of see that that engagement and excitement to see like, oh, like that's super relevant, like today, like Among Us is super popular right now, and just something like maybe like in an Among Us type of like costume with one of our characters and one of our titles would be so it would be really dope. But at the same time, I don't think the legal team would be super happy about that. So that's just my personal kind of like struggle of trying to think of something unique for our brand.
Yeah, mashups are so cool, but I'm sure they're like an IP nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my main career path is clinical mental health counseling, so I'm in a master's program for that. And one of the most important things that they teach us is like having good self-care and like how to cope with stress, because you know you're dealing with other people's problems, but you also have to figure out how to like unwind and focus on yourself. So with social media, like you're always interacting or dealing with people, and so how do you guys disconnect or deal with that stress? if you do?
I can't say so. Like, I mean, obviously, it's been very hard for everybody in 2020 due to the pandemic, and just being stuck in quarantine, working remotely. I I think it was June or July is when like everything started to like really get really tense, because Black Lives Matter happened, like is at its peak, and then also within like the gaming community was when all like the allegations for sexual harassment
Oh, that's
started like
right.
popping up on social
I had
media.
legitimately
Yeah.
forgotten about that. Oh my god, this year sucks.
I just like, yeah,
Yeah.
right? I just like tried to block it all out.
I remember that entire month was like the worst for me personally because we also just released a game. So I was just stressed on stress
Yeah,
on
I'm
top of
sure.
like every types of stress, because I was just constantly bombarded with like people protesting and activism, and then people are just sharing their stories. And so of course like I want to be aware of like what was happening with people, like with peers. Like it's just sucked because it happened because I knew the victims and I actually knew some of like the people who were accused, so it was just
Oh, really?
yeah, it was
Wow.
just an interesting feeling to like gather all that information. And yeah, I think once July hit, I was like, I need a break. I need a whole week vacation. My boss was just like, you deserve it, do it, or you just do what you need to do. So I had to take my mental health break during that time. But I can definitely say for sure, like June was like the worst month for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, June. Yeah, it feels almost unfair to compare this year to like normal stress
Right.
relief. Um, but no, I agree. June in particular, I think we launched two titles, uh, Dark Road and Romancing Saga Reuniverse, and
Hmm.
Bio-Roxas knows a little bit about some of the stuff that went down.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you really, it's tough, because I think Jem mentioned it earlier. We are empathetic, and we
Hmm.
feel stress from players. You notice that their hopes are, or not their hopes, but their spirits are down a little. You want to help them. It's like, well, let's play the game, and that adds on to your own stress. So yeah, long vacations. I took one a little bit closer in like July, and the other recently in September, and it's really just turn off the internet, uh,
Hmm.
play offline games. I cuddle with my pets extensively and hang out with my partner playing just non-online games. That's really how, I mean, it's just disconnecting from what you do. And since it is online games and social media, that's you can't expect to be sane while being on there 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, yeah, like working online or working with community management and then like on your off time, like, oh, I'm just gonna go browse Twitter, like go like browse.
Yeah.
Like it's, I can't imagine like how hard it is to make that barrier
Yeah.
between work
Oh yeah, for
and real
sure.
life. So, um, do you guys have any like funny moments or like favorite times during a game launch that you like that's like one of your like cherished memories?
Uh, this one's hard for me only because I have like 3 titles in the last 2 years.
Mm.
Um, I guess like I guess my best moment was launching Ancestors, just because it was the very first game that had my name in the credits, and I actually was in Seattle at the time, because it just happens to be that same week where we were doing PAX West. So it was just a fun time because I had to wake up super early, even though I was still like on the East Coast time. And then just launching the game, and then later on we had to like go and the office was actually not that far from where the event was being held, so I easily walked over to the venue, and we had to take care of like setting up the booth. So that's one of my memorable moments when launching a game, was for me.
That's cool.
I can't think of anything funny that happened during a game launch because game launches are stressful.
Yeah.
But I would say my best memories are tied to events surrounding a game's launch. So I think when we released Dissidia, that's when we started doing player meetups. Like that idea finally got approved. We had been asking them for other titles, but we finally got it for Dissidia, and actually meeting people and seeing how you're doing an okay job, because they're not throwing bottles at you. They're saying thank you and wanting to hang out and talk, and stuff like that. That's what I look forward to, is actually seeing the results of your work pay off. When you see players are happy, when you see that every day your social media page followers go up, and it's not like bots, or actually your interactions are going up. That sort of thing is what I try to hope for. But for funniest, I would say probably when I knocked over a stand during one of my first PAX debuts.
Oh no.
It was right as we were going to open, the press came in an hour earlier, and I was like dancing around just from excitement, and just as someone walked by, I just knocked something right. And I laughed. I apologized, but I thought it was the funniest thing, so I kept laughing. In hindsight, that probably seemed insensitive, but I was very nervous.
I'm sure, yeah. On the flip side, are there any like terrible, awful interactions that you had that like?
Oh God, where did that from?
I mean, it is social media. Like, how could you have any horrible interactions?
Yeah, right. I'll let you go first, because
Okay.
I'm trying to find a good one.
I guess I can share this one because it was just absolutely so ridiculous to me. So we had a particular person in the Kerbal Space Program forum, and he was basically having an argument with one of the moderators, and then went to us to like be like, you should remove him from being the moderator. And we're like, it's a community-based forum, so we can't really like remove him from it. But he was claiming that they were being racist to him, and particularly like being racist to New England people in particular. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. Because I mean, the argument was, just because he couldn't buy our particular DLC, and it just so happened that there was like an error that it was preventing him to do that. So, and he was getting super frustrated at us, and he's like, you're being racist to people, so we can't buy your game. And I'm like, that's a little bit of a stretch, but no. So that was one of my most memorable, like, horrible moments of like dealing with community members. But yeah, it's just, and it was like a month long kind of like back and forth too. So yeah.
Yikes. I have like a community Discord, and I have like a mod section where like my community moderators will like come to me with like concerns or like questions and stuff. But it'll always happen where someone gets mad at a mod, and then will like DM me thinking that like I'm not keyed into the situation. And so they'll be like, you need to remove this mod, or like you need to like get rid of this mod because they're not doing their job. And I'm like, no, they've been keeping me informed. I know what's going on. That always gets a chuckle out of me.
Yeah.
Did you find one, Glacy?
I'll pick
or Kim,
two
sorry.
from one from my EST job and one from Square Enix. EST, I did do customer support, so I had this particular ticket that could not uninstall the game. And we gave them the instructions. They're like, it still appears, it's still there, this is a virus. And he continued that for about a year. We would answer, and he would reply. He would send in screenshots, but all of them were dated. And we would ask for more recent screenshots, and he'd get upset that we weren't believing him. So eventually he just started spamming the tickets. And at the time, I was really the only one working. So eventually I was just like, hey, listen, I can't. This did not get the approval of my superiors. This was, it was just me being frustrated. After a year, this was like, we can't help you. Any further complaints, I'm just going to close the ticket automatically. I'm sorry. And apparently he contacted the Better Business Bureau for me specifically. So that was an interesting meeting with a company lawyer. I didn't get in trouble, thankfully, because I
Yeah.
showed him the year's worth of tickets. I was like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, I can't do this. And he's like, no, no worries. But yeah, that's the most
Yikes.
I've ever been
Oh
reported
my
on.
Oh
god.
my god.
uh, but for Square Enix, it's just the people that send in the essays about how they were wrongfully banned, and one check into their account shows that they were not wrongfully banned. So I would say the most negative experiences. Luckily, I've been spared a lot here,
Mm.
but they're the ones where the angry friends find you in cons, and then you got to duck behind the back before
Oh
they
my
find you.
gosh.
Oof.
That's happened twice. Um, but it never got serious. It was just
Mm.
like, oh, I recognize that player who yelled at me last year. I'm out of here.
Yikes.
So yeah, just avoiding the fans that can't separate like real life from the game.
Mm.
That's when it can get
Right.
dicey, but that does not happen very often. Like
Yeah.
the fact that I can only think of 2 times that I'm happy that it's low.
Mm.
Yeah. I think that's
Um,
the good thing about that.
Most I'd say 99% of players are just sweethearts who just want to play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that came up was you mentioned, Kim, that you were playing some games to disconnect. Didn't even cross my mind. What kind of games do you guys play? Like, what's the go-to game when you're
Oh.
chilling?
Stardew Valley
Really?
is the ultimate stress relief. Yes, I know it's all like micromanaging and all that stuff,
Mm.
but I relied on that and this game called Proteus.
I haven't heard of that one.
It's like this like very pixelated game. You just wander.
Mm.
It's super simple. The music is like 8-bit track, but it's because you do nothing. You
Mm.
just wander, and it's perfect for like taking your mind off of things. Like
Yeah.
I look for games that don't require any sort of skill or like dedication. It's just I need to put my mind in a state where
Mm.
I'm just happy.
Yeah, and that's called grounding. So
Yeah.
it's teaching mindfulness. So it's something that takes your mind off of the past or the future. Because if you're focusing on the past, if you're ruminating on something in the past, that can cause depression, or if you're focusing on something in the future, that can cause anxiety. And so like games that just keep you in the moment but don't like stress you out or like do anything else are like really helpful and just kind of grounding you. So anyways.
For me, I have been playing. Well, I just started to get back into Animal Crossing.
Yeah, me too.
It's so good.
Yes.
I want to start like redo my island, so I want to like get in all the Halloween decorations in
Mhm.
there. The most recent game that I really love was Spiritfarer.
Oh yeah, I saw a ton of people talking
so
about that.
Beautiful. Yeah. It's
really
it's
sad,
another
right?
management game. And you just kind of like talk about like to me it's like talking about like death. So you're like
Mm.
the Green Reaper kind of like thing, but like a very wholesome Green Reaper. And you get to cook, you get to fish, travel like this giant map. And it's very relaxing. Again, you play all these little mini games along with it together, like all the different resources to create all those crafting items that you need to collect.
Mm.
So that's my I guess my kind of like game of the year. If you want to like just kind of just chill and just jump around, that sort of thing. But yeah, like I recommend it. Like those type of like offline games for me.
Mm. Yeah.
Online though is 14.
Yeah, 14.
For sure.
Wait, what data center are you?
I'm on Behemoth,
No.
so that's Primal. Yeah.
Oh wait, no, I'm on Primal. Oh, we gotta connect.
Yay!
All of my friends are on Aether, and I'm so sad.
I chose Primal because that's where a lot of my coworkers were, but I wanted to be on Aether because I like the name, the server names more.
Oh really? Yeah, all of my friends, I'll be like, oh, like I just got on 14. Where are you at? And they're like, I'm on Aether, and I'm like, no. Like I think you can transfer, but I don't know how to. So, and I'm still in the free trial, so I can't do anything like extra. Yeah. Do you play 14, Jem?
I don't. I have been watching a couple of my streamer friends, just kind of like exploring. That I haven't really done any like those large I can't say MMORPG type of games. The last time I actually did that was like Ragnarok, and that was like
Oh my
back
god,
when
no,
I
that
was
brings me back.
when I was like in high school. But yeah, I haven't found like any other game like it just yet. I am trying to dip my toe into Genshin Impact.
Oh, yeah.
I heard
Yeah.
about that.
I've downloaded it. I
Yeah, a
haven't
lot
played
of
it yet.
people are saying it's really good. So I'm like, all right, I'll give it a shot and see how that one goes. So
Yeah, I want to try it out, but usually the only time I have, like, I only play games if I stream at this point right now, just with like classes and work. And so like
Gotcha.
I'm like, I want to play Genshin Impact, but I don't know if anyone will come out to watch that. So I need to give it a try.
I do see a lot of it being shared on my Twitter feed.
Yeah.
It's super popular right now.
Yeah, it seems like the next big fad for sure.
yeah, I think so too. So we'll see how if I like it or not.
Yeah. I think that's all the questions I have. Do you guys have like upcoming IPs that you want to talk about or that you can share anything about? If not, no worries.
I mean, so I forgot how long ago we announced it, but we are partnering with Moon Studios, who just finished with Ori and the Ori and the Blind, or the Will of Wisp. That was like the last game. So we're working on their next IP.
Oh, it's awesome.
We're also partnering with Roll 7 with their next IP. They're the ones who did Ali Ali, and League of Geeks. It's an Australian studio, so they're on more on like they have a mobile game called Armello. So we're working on their next IP. So lots of new IPs, lots of things that I can't say yet. But,
Yeah.
I can say that they're all three of them are very exciting, and I'm looking forward to see how the community is going to react. They're unique in their own way, so just hopefully it'll be a success. Because again, like we really love looking for games that are very, very different from what other games are. So yeah, so crossing fingers, and we'll update whenever we make those updates.
As for me, I think the latest game that I'll be working on has been announced. Dragon Ball Attacked. But currently my main focus is Romancing Saga Reuniverse, which that's just it streams every month. Oh yeah, I forgot to add that on my list. Streams. That's like 40% of what I prep for. Oh my goodness, streams. Just playing that. Other stuff I unfortunately can't talk about, but there are some exciting things for Union Cross Dark Road coming up. I really wish I could say, but I can't. But look forward to it. And same for Romancing Saga Reuniverse. We're planning some big stuff for that title, so I'm pretty excited to start getting all the images together and sending out that info.
Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk and record this. I'll leave.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you guys have personal social media that you want me to link?
Yeah. I can post it on. Sorry, no, it's just I'm thinking like, do I post anything to be like interesting on my Twitter page? I'm just gonna start posting pictures of my rats. It's just gonna turn into a pet account.
For me, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Jumpanada3. Yeah, I just post a lot of just like me of like games and TV shows that I like to watch and find. I watch a lot of cartoons. I'm 31 years old and I still watch a lot of cartoons.
Cartoons
but
are the best.
that's what I like.
I just turned 31 and I also watch a lot of cartoons. No shame in that.
Yeah. So so that's what I usually like to talk about on my Twitter account. I'm mostly on Twitter. That's where you'll find me. Instagram, not so much, but I try to just at least update like a photo once a month or something. But yeah, you'll see me talk a lot more on Twitter.
Awesome. I'll link those down below. Again, thank you guys for taking the time to do this. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cool.